Tonight, live from the First Baptist Church of Houston, Channel 2 presents the Houston Christmas Pageant, The King. Brought to you in part by your Houston area McDonald's restaurants. It's a good time for the great taste of McDonald's. Wilson Tender Cuts, tender, lean, juicy pork every time. And your neighborhood 7-Eleven store. Hello, everybody. I'm Ron Stone.
Good evening. I'm Jan Carson.
Welcome to the First Baptist Church in Houston, Texas for the 17th annual Christmas pageant.
This is really a very special night for both Ron and myself, and also for all of you because you're in for a treat. This is one of the really magical productions of all the seasons.
Last year, we looked at the celebration of Texas' 150th birthday, and we walked away saying, well, they can't top that, but I understand they have.
From looking at this program, the production is called The King. That's what you'll be seeing tonight. This has been a year in the planning, about 6 months in the actual preparation, involving a total of more than 600 people.
You know, they had a huge choir last year, and I thought there wasn't room for anybody else, but they tell me they've added about 100 people to that this year.
Magnificent sound. Are you going to be singing this year?
No, I won't be singing this year, but as I walked in, I got the fright of my life because a llama almost ran over me out in the parking lot as they were walking it around.
This is such a huge production. Not only do we have a cast of thousands, it seems like, but we also have a lot of animals. It's going to be a very interesting show, so let's not miss out.
Okay?
Let's go see.
Okay.
When you're out shopping for the best this busy holiday season, don't forget about McDonald's Chicken McNuggets. McNuggets come from only the best cuts of chicken. Plump, tender breast or juicy thigh. No wonder they're so good. McDonald's Chicken McNuggets.
It's a good time for the great taste of McDonald's.
Now, McDonald's has 6-piece Chicken McNuggets for just 89 cents when you buy fries and a Coke. Just 89 cents for 6 delicious Chicken McNuggets at participating McDonald's.
Big chops.
When it comes to buying pork, you can ask for it by cut, but you can't ask for it by name. Till now. Introducing Wilson Tender Cuts. Fresh pork you can ask for by name. New Tender Cuts are guaranteed consistently lean, tender, and juicy. The best fresh pork you'll ever taste.
Big chops.
It's your choice. Just any pork,
Big chops.
or
I want Tender Cuts. Tender Cuts?
new Wilson Tender Cuts. Fresh pork you can ask for by name.
Look out. 7-Eleven's still slicing prices. And here's new proof. Check this new super special price. 12 packs of Budweiser beer, just $5.39 now at 7-Eleven. How's that for slicing prices? And remember, day in, day out, all premium beer 12 packs, just $5.69 every day. Great everyday prices all around the store, plus super low specials. 7-Eleven slices prices.
Jockey, just jockey, just jockey, nothing else for me.
No other underwear has all these comforts. That jockey feel, that jockey fit, that jockey style. No other underwear.
Just jockey.
Jockey, just jockey.
What other underwear looks better or feels better? Jockey, for all its comforts.
Just jockey.
Available at fine stores everywhere.
Well, we're just minutes away from the opening of Act 1 of the 17th annual Christmas pageant from the First Baptist Church in Houston.
Ron and I have some great seats here, but really, you at home tonight have the best seats in the house. And also, you'll be hearing all this great music in stereo. And one of the really fine things about this production is how it involves the whole audience. During this first act, you will see the actors going out into the theater here and presenting a program that really involves each and every one in the audience and also you at home.
Yeah, I'll never forget last year almost being run over by a camel. One of the great shocks is to sit in church and have a camel walk in front of you, and it'll happen again tonight. Those of you who are at home should feel like you're right in the middle of it, and we're sorry you couldn't be here. Tickets have been sold out, as you know, for this for goodness knows how long, and they always go like hotcakes, so do the videotapes. And Those of you who wrote us to say that you enjoyed the production last year, I think you're going to like it again this year. Got some music that everybody's familiar with?
This is going to be an interesting act. It's set in the 18th century. You'll see a lot of traditional costumes. You'll see the men in the powdered wig. And what it is a contrast between the earthly king in Act 1 to the heavenly king, the King of Kings, in Act 2. There's going to be a lot of happy traditional Christmas songs in this. And remember, these are amateur actors you're looking at. Members of First Baptist Church.
Don't say that. Those people up there don't think they're amateurs. They work as hard as professionals,
They
and
sure
they put
do.
on as good a show as a professional.
They sure do. They are wonderful. And just enjoy this Act 1. It's going to be a really special event.
When they do Here Comes Santa Claus, you're going to sing along with them?
And my hum.
Here's Act 1.
Christmas wreaths for a penny, Christmas wreaths and mistletoes, selling here for 1 penny. Will you buy fresh milk today, mistress? Fresh milk today, fresh milk. Christmas wreaths with sweet red roses. Fresh milk today, fresh milk. Christmas wreaths for a penny. Spice, bitters and spice. Spice, bitters and spice. Fresh milk today, fresh milk. Christmas wreaths with mistletoe. Fresh milk today, bread by buy. Let me bread to buy. Milk today, bread by buy. Bread high Who will buy these wonderful pumpkins? Such a one you never did see. Christmas wreaths with sweet red roses.
Lobsters here and mussels aplenty. Fresh fish is taken from the sea.
These apples here are for your pleasure. Here's figs and raisins too. These roasted chestnuts, what a treasure. Just right for each of you. Any milk today?
Geese and dogs, both fat and far eaten. Come and buy for your Christmas feast.
Bread high
Samples here of 5 different cheeses. It's what I've come to do. This Christmas one for you. We're calling to you.
Hear ye, one and all, this royal decree from the royal hall. It shall be noted that on this day, December the 25th, in the land of Say, 'twill be a celebration of a royal affair, with all of the king's loyal subjects there, to celebrate this, the day of his birth, with goodwill wishes and peace on earth. So from now until midnight, let the kingdom bells ring, to honor this his birthday, the birthday of our king. procession begin. Hear ye, one and all, this royal announcement of the royal ball. 'Twill be held this evening at the stroke of 8 on December the 25th. That is the royal date. Come, lords and ladies, dukes and duchesses too. Come all ye listed in the royal who's who. There's feasting and dancing until the stroke of 10. That's the hour when the royal presents begin. So let all his loyal subjects his praises to sing, to honor this his birthday, the birthday of our king.
And now, in honor of His Royal Highness's birthday, and for both their Royal Highness's pleasure, the Royal Boys Choir, conducted by the Royal Choirmaster, will present a birthday present in song, written by one of the boys, Wolfgang.
Happy birthday to our King. Happy birthday.
present in honor of His Royal Highness's birthday. They will present new dancers never before seen by His Royal Highness. The Royal Court's dancing has been instructed by Her Royal Highness, the Queen. Presentation of the royal gifts from the royal ambassadors to the Kingdom of Zay. First, the royal ambassador from the northern provinces. From the southern provinces.
If that stays here in this palace, you're leaving!
The royal ambassador from the eastern provinces. Ambassador from the western provinces. And now for the final present to the King, the gift from Her Royal Highness the Queen. In order for us to view Her Majesty's wonderful present, we must all come out onto the porticos of the Beaumont Gardens. In searching for a gift befitting the occasion of the King's birthday, the Queen came upon the idea of replacing the statues in the Beaumont Gardens. As the theme for each of the new sculptures, Her Majesty has chosen one of His Majesty's greatest loves. As a tribute to His Majesty's love for the sport of game hunting, this statue is a recreation of the king as a young man with his beloved hunting dog in pursuit of game. The second statue is in honor of the king's love for music, in this case, heavenly music, being played by angels themselves. The third statue depicts the king's love for love itself, and how better to depict it than with the eternal symbol of love, a young couple. The fourth statue, a tribute to His Majesty's greatest love, Her Royal Highness, has been fashioned to the exactness of our beloved Queen herself, right down to the last detail.
Oh, my dear, beloved Queen, where did you ever find the time to do all of this and that statue? When did you ever find the time to pose? I mean, the artist has captured you down to the most minute detail. And you are so talented in so many areas. Dancing, music, the arts. My dear, it would please my Royal Highness if your Royal Highness would conduct a royal chorus in a royal song. Take it away, my dear.
Sing a song of Merry Christmas. Sing a song of Merry Christmas. The caraway is holiday. The caraway is holiday. Sing a song of Merry Christmas. Sing a song of Merry Christmas. Sing a song of Merry. Sing a song of Merry Christmas. Caraway is holiday. The caraway is holiday. So sing a Merry Christmas. A joyous song of Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas. Noel, Noel.
Look out. 7-Eleven still slicing prices. And here's new proof. Check this new super special price. 12 packs of Budweiser beer, just $5.39 now at 7-Eleven. How's that for slicing prices? And remember, day in, day out, all premium beer 12 packs, just $5.69 every day. Great everyday prices all around the store, plus super low specials. 7-Eleven slices prices.
At Church's Fried Chicken, we're always looking for new ideas. And we just found one. New country fried steak. Batter dipped in golden fried outside, tender big steak inside, with home-style gravy, 2 rolls, and your choice of any 2 sides. Enjoy it here or at home for just $2.49. Church's Country Fried Steak Platter. We know a good idea when we hear one. Quit bragging.
You know, every year I send dozens of Christmas cards, all the same, to friends, relatives, the paper boy. But this year, for certain special people, I'm stopping at Eckerd Drugs for Christmas cards from American Greetings. I mean, some people are special, and I'm letting them know. It's easy to give the perfect gift with fragrance from Eckerd Drugs. Eckerd has a full selection of fragrances, like department stores, but no department store hassles. So now giving the perfect gift is as much fun as receiving it. Almost.
Have a Merry Christmas, and remember, don't drink and drive.
Season's greeting from the Houston Astros.
Feliz Navidad.
Holiday greetings to you all.
All of the air traffic controllers in the Houston area wish you a very Merry Christmas.
Happy holidays.
Merry Christmas, Terry.
Merry Christmas, Bill.
And Merry Christmas to you.
Happy holidays from us. Channel 2.
Yes. Oh. I know. Please. Oh, please, please. I'm overwhelmed. The next thing on our program, I think you will enjoy because it's all too painfully familiar. Just a little look at what it's like today, shopping.
Shopping, shopping, let's go Christmas shopping. Says we can't resist, keep popping on. Shopping, shopping, let's go Christmas shopping. Items on my list keep popping on. Bargains, discounts, that's what we look out for. Half price everything must go is gone. We shout for shopping, shopping, let's go Christmas shopping. Other plans we're dropping, but we're shopping, shop, shop, shop.
Foley! Jockey!
Tuckowitz!
Macy! Neiman Marcus!
Lord and Taylor!
Marshall Field! Lex! Sears! Ward! Visa!
Mastercard!
House!
Impact!
Shopping, shopping, we are Christmas shopping. Shopping without stopping. Till we have finished all our Christmas shopping. Shopping, ever shopping. We'll worry, scurry, constantly we worry. And we overspend and we forgotten someone. Shopping, shopping, we are Christmas shopping. Shopping, never stopping. Shopping, shop, shop, shop.
Honey, look, this coat is on sale for only $5,000. How do you think I'd look in it?
Lonesome. Don't forget the location, folks. It's located between Sage Road and South Post Oak, between Alabama and Westheimer. And believe you me when I tell you that this Christmas, shopping at the Galleria Shopping Center really will save you money.
Shopping, we're still Christmas shopping. Shopping center hopping. Till we can finish all our Christmas shopping. Shopping center hopping. We'll go to Great Point and the Galleria. Sharks down there from Colgate, favorite town and country. Shopping, shopping, we're still Christmas shopping. Shopping center hopping. Yes, we're shopping, shop, shop, shop. 'Tis the season to be shopping. La 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 la.
Mother, if I could just have one of those beautiful dolls, it could be my only Christmas present. I wouldn't ask for anything else. Couldn't I please?
Oh, honey, don't get your heart set on one of those dolls. You know we just can't afford it this year. Now, come along. We need to find a sweater for Uncle Matt. Oh, look, there's Marge. You come and sit right here, and I'll be back in just a minute. Now, don't move. Marge, Marge. Hi, I'm just dying to talk to you. I have the most exciting news.
Parents just don't understand. I could never say anything to them, but sometimes it's hard being an only child. And it's lonely, too. I'd especially like to have a doll for Christmas. I could pretend like I was the big sister, and we could talk and play. I could pretend. I could pretend. And don't you like my size? I'm so petite. I do. You're precious. Thank you very much.
I'm planning to tell them both on Christmas morning.
That's wonderful. Now, when is the baby due?
In June. Oh, shh, there's Coriana. See you later, Marge. Merry Christmas.
Hi.
Oh, Mom, I had this wonderful dream.
Well, you can tell me all about it in the car.
It was all about these dolls, and it was wonderful. Each one came up and said,
Really?
I mean, like, I saw the most totally awesome sweater in the mall. I mean, like, for sure it had all the little squiggly things. I mean, like, all over it, you know? And Christy, ooh-wee, Christy has a tubular rag. I mean, just like it. Give me a break on rye. For sure.
All right, Aggie boy. I got this great Christmas riddle for you.
Okay.
Okay, you ready? How many D's are there in Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer?
Okay, let's see. How many D's are there in Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer?
Good, good.
I've got it. 258.
258? How in the world did you come up with that number?
Easy. D D D D D D D D D D.
Shopping, shopping, and it's Christmas shopping. No one finds your dropping. We'll look for discounts, bargain basement shopping, charge accounts for stopping. We'll Target, Kmart, Mervyn's and Walmart. Nothing so much cheaper does it come in for home shopping, shopping, endless Christmas shopping, shopping never stopping. Christmas shopping, shop, shop, shop. Shopping, 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 shopping. Till we
When you're out shopping for the best this busy holiday season, don't forget about McDonald's Chicken McNuggets. McNuggets come from only the best cuts of chicken. Plump, tender breast or juicy thigh. No wonder they're so good. McDonald's Chicken McNuggets.
It's a good time for the great taste of McDonald's.
Now, McDonald's has 6-piece Chicken McNuggets for just 89 cents when you buy fries and a Coke. Just 89 cents for 6 delicious Chicken McNuggets at participating McDonald's.
Big chops.
When it comes to buying pork, you can ask for it by cut, but you can't ask for it by name. Till now. Introducing Wilson Tender Cuts. Fresh pork you can ask for by name. New Tender Cuts are guaranteed consistently lean, tender, and juicy. The best fresh pork you'll ever taste.
Big chops.
It's your choice. Just any pork.
Big chops.
Or
I want Tender Cuts.
Tender Cuts?
new Wilson Tender Cuts. Fresh pork you can ask for by name.
When an urgent package leaves your hands, make sure the hands you leave it in can deliver. Express Mail overnight service from your post office delivers over city, over state, overnight, over whatever stands in the way. Over 97% of the time and climbing for about half what most others charge. £2, just $10.75. Express Mail overnight service. When we say overnight, we mean overnight.
This is Wile E. Coyote. He's been trying to catch that guy for years. What makes him think he can now? Ah, the Donnelly Directory. It's not the same old Yellow Pages. It's maps, guides, and coupons. It's a complete, colorful Yellow Pages that's better and easier to use. Won't he ever learn? Oh, no. Good thinking. The Donnelly Directory. That was close. The Donnelly Directory. It's a better Yellow Pages and much, much more.
Thank you. Well, you're too kind. What a wonderful evening. Oh, please, my father's here. Okay, I'm going to tell you in all honesty. You know, I'm not a king. This is fantasy. I'm an actor. And would an actor lie to you? You know, I'm just gonna put it to you straight. The Greek word for actor and hypocrite is the same. But the truth of the matter is, I'm gonna tell you in all honesty, straight out like I see it, and this is pulling no punches. You are about to experience one of the most exhilarating experiences you'll ever have. It is quite simply listening to the remarkable, talented, and gifted choir of the First Baptist Church of Houston, Texas.
In the little village of Bethlehem, there lay a child one day, and the sky was bright with a holy light o'er the place where Jesus lay. Hallelujah, oh how the angels sang, hallelujah. How it rang, and the sky was bright with a holy light. 'Twas the birthday of the King. Hallelujah, Jesus the King.
King
That was wonderful.
Oh, that was tremendous.
I always hear those Christmas songs, and I find myself humming them and wishing that I could get up there and sing. I have my tuxedo on.
Loudly, you know.
Well, I can't help it. You can't have a Christmas pageant without Silent Night, and they did it wonderfully well.
Beautifully. And I especially enjoyed, again this year, Reagan Courtney. He is such a wonderful actor, and he has come here for the 13th year to be the storyteller, the narrator, the king, as you saw him in Act 1, and he really helps, you know, put the icing on the cake.
No matter what kind of role he plays, he sort of commands the stage. He has a great presence about him. And he, of course, is the fellow who was the narrator that you saw telling you all those stories. Now, in the second act that comes up in a few moments, you'll see him in a variety of other roles. You never know where he might appear or how he might choose to tell the story. But we've been Christmas shopping, and we've seen what a real king is like, or at least what we think a real king was like. And now we're going to get into the biblical.
And the costuming that you will see here will be very authentic in a biblical sense, and there's going to be just as much pageantry, but it will be in contrast to the heavenly, to the earthly king. This will be going to the King of Kings.
See if I can sing anything that I know in the second act. Oh, I know some of these.
Yes.
But I still do. We wish you a Merry Christmas. Oh, we'll be back in a moment. We wish you a Merry Christmas.
When it comes to buying pork, you can ask for it by cut, but you can't ask for it by name. Till now. Introducing Wilson Tender Cuts. Fresh pork you can ask for by name. New Tender Cuts are guaranteed consistently lean, tender, and juicy. The best fresh pork you'll ever taste. It's your choice. Just any pork, or...
I want Tender Cuts.
Tender Cuts?
New Wilson Tender Cuts. Fresh pork you can ask for by name.
Look out. 7-Eleven's still slicing prices. And here's new proof. Check this new super special price. 6 packs of all Coca-Cola products. Just $1.49 now at 7-Eleven. How's that for slicing prices? And remember, day in, day out, all brands of 2-liter soft drinks, just $1.39 every day. Great everyday prices all around the store. Plus super low specials. 7-Eleven slices prices.
Sensational gift, a Miss Adab spray. Fragrance in the air, fragrance meant to share, a personal bouquet. A signature and scent, a trace of spice or musk. A touch so very light, you'll find the one that's right. It's 4 leaves, of course.
May the spirit of the holiday season fill your hearts with joy and peace.
Happy holidays to you and your family.
Have a happy and safe Christmas.
Merry Christmas, Houston.
Have a wonderful holiday.
Season's greetings from all the cabins in Houston.
You sure this is the right size tree for me?
Yes, sir. It'll be fine.
I hope you have a big Christmas, too.
Happy holidays from us.
Ron, you're good, but I think the
Not
voice
that.
choir had
Yes,
you
I
beat on
understand.
Oh Come, Emmanuel.
I can do
and
that.
I think all the audience has been humming with us,
Well,
tapping
you
our
can't help
feet.
it, you know, it's
It just
wonderful
really gets you in the mood for Christmas, and the music is done so well here, and I
Isn't it?
know because of one man.
Gerald Ray is the director of the pageant, or the executive director and the conductor of the Christmas pageant, minister of music here at the First Baptist Church. And he works very hard, practically all year round, to make this thing happen.
After 17 or 20 years of doing the same thing, people could set their clocks by music and by scenes. So we change the interpretation, or we change the song, or we change the lighting, or the costuming, or the backdrop, or something where it's not predictable. The biblical story we can't change, but we can change the perspective that you see it from. Any good pageant is going to have Silent Night and Oh Come All Ye Faithful and Hark the Herald Angels Sing. But then we're looking for the piece of music that speaks what we're trying to portray. As one Christmas season ends, you start for the next year because you can only, as far as Christmas music, you hear it only once a year. So once we have decided what we do this year, our ears are open for that specific piece or that entertaining piece or the beautiful piece. And so we will order it probably in February or March.
It's a very special day. Come and share a jubilation. There's a new king born today. Wise men journey, led to worship by a star. Kneel in homage, bring precious gifts from lands afar. Come and join the celebration.
It's music, but it's music that has entertainment and spectacle. There's some a cappella music, some choral music, some popular music, show, you know, different kinds of secular music and sacred music. Sometimes we design a scene around the music. Sometimes we have a scene and I have to find the music to fit the scene. Some of this music that we've had in concert today was especially commissioned for the Houston Christmas Pageant by Bob Krogstad, an outstanding sacred music arranger from Phoenix, Arizona. The finale, the heaven scene, is a specially commissioned piece by Bob Krogstad. We just take a finite view of it and try to do the best we can, picturing the glory of Jesus and heaven. The choir begins in August. They're school teachers. Many are music majors who are now insurance salesmen, swimming pool contractors, and, you know, every profession that there is. These are just good, wonderful people who love to sing.
When you're out shopping for the best this busy holiday season, don't forget about McDonald's Chicken McNuggets. McNuggets come from only the best cuts of chicken, plump, tender breast, or juicy thigh. No wonder they're so good. McDonald's Chicken McNuggets.
It's a good time for the great taste of McDonald's.
Now, McDonald's has 6-piece Chicken McNuggets for just 89 cents when you buy fries and a Coke. Just 89 cents for 6 delicious Chicken McNuggets at participating McDonald's.
Several years ago, some Southwest Airlines employees started getting together to cook dinner for some special friends.
One night they invited me along, and I ended up falling in love.
This is a Ronald McDonald House.
Dinner is served.
A home where families families with seriously ill children can stay while their children are undergoing treatment at a nearby hospital. Individual families from all walks of life become one big family here. And the spirit of Christmas lasts all year long. Southwest Airlines has named the Ronald McDonald Houses their primary charity.
We're here to help spread the word about the very special love we found.
Merry Christmas, Herb.
Merry Christmas, Shay. And a Merry Christmas to you, too.
From the airline that love built and the house that love built. Happy holidays.
Ever wish you could hold on to the feelings you shared during the holidays? This year, give someone you love a gift from AT&T. AT&T telephones, long-distance gift certificates, and Call Me cards help you stay close to faraway family and friends all through the year. After all, for someone you love, there's no better gift than the sound of your voice. AT&T. Our gifts speak right from the heart.
How you doing?
Reach out and touch someone.
We're getting closer to Act 2 of the 17th annual Houston Christmas Pageant. And you know, all the people you saw involved in this production, just a small percentage of the people who belong to this church. Brian, can you believe 19,000 people belong to the First Baptist Church here in Houston?
It is a huge church, and it's a working church, and they are inspired by their leader, Dr. John Bozania.
Hello, I'm John Basagno, pastor here at First Baptist Church, and we're so happy that you've joined us tonight for this beautiful presentation of the Houston Christmas Pageant. Of course, we work hard at this production, but you do know that First Baptist is more than just the pageant, and it's more than the beautiful bricks and mortar. First Baptist is about people, people helping people. So before we begin our second act, I'd like to show you just a little bit about what we like to call First Baptist Church of Houston, the People's Church.
Look out. 7-Eleven still slicing prices. And here's new proof. Check this new super special price. A gallon of Oak Farms 2% low-fat milk, just $1.99, now at 7-Eleven. How's that for slicing prices? And remember, day in, day out, a dozen grade A large eggs, just 89 cents every day. Great everyday prices all around the store, plus super low specials. 7-Eleven slices prices.
Kentucky Fried Chicken's got a new great deal. 10 plump pieces start a real good meal. And 4 fresh biscuits all for a steal. Kentucky Fried Chicken's got a new great deal.
Right now, get 10 plump, juicy pieces of chicken and 4 fresh biscuits. The great deal, just $7.49.
Kentucky Fried Chicken's got a new great deal.
Just $7.49 right now.
Kentucky Fried Chicken, we do chicken right.
Christmas. Just when I have no time to do anything, everything takes more time, except for shopping at Eckerd.
Where a bag of Hershey Kisses is just $1.89, and brand name toys like Centurion Heroes and Villains just $10.88 each.
With Eckerd, I can get in and out with what I need in no time at all, which gives me more time to enjoy the things that take more time.
This Christmas there's Eckerd, because America can't wait.
Have a very Merry Christmas.
Happy holidays.
Have a safe and happy Christmas. We'd like to wish you all a very Merry Christmas.
Happy holidays to you and your family.
I hope all of you have a very Merry Christmas. Happy holidays.
Our family wishes all of you the best of holidays.
Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas.
Happy holidays from us to you.
Channel 2.
Tonight, live from the First Baptist Church of Houston, Channel 2 presents the Houston Christmas Pageant, The King. Brought to you in part by your Houston area McDonald's restaurants. It's a good time for the great taste of McDonald's. Wilson Tender Cuts, tender, lean, juicy pork every time. And your neighborhood 7-Eleven store. Welcome back to the First Baptist Church in Houston, Texas. The 17th annual Christmas pageant is about ready for Act 2.
And if you enjoyed Act 1, you're going to love this act. Starts with King David, follows the royal line, ends to the resurrection of Christ, the King of Kings. There's lots of pageantry, colorful costuming, dancing, and lots of wonderful music.
So here's Act 2 of The King.
I, John, a disciple of the Lord, a brother, a fellow believer. I was a prisoner in exile on the Isle of Patmos because of the testimony of Jesus and the Word of God. I was in the Spirit on the Lord's day when suddenly I heard a voice behind me that sounded like a trumpet, and it said, "Write what you see." And I saw him, and I fell at his feet as though I were dead. And he reached out his right hand and touched me and said, "Do not be afraid. I am the first and the last. I am the living one. I who was dead am now alive forevermore. And I hold in my hands the keys to life and to death. Write what you see and what is to come." And I obey my God and my King. And I take a quill whose point is radiant with righteousness and dip it into the blood of the Lamb and write with words that can never be eradicated the sacred scarlet message that fills the white waiting pages. But how? Where do I begin? In the beginning. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. All things were made by him, and without him was not anything made that hath been made. In him was life, and that life was the light of men, and the light shines in the darkness, and the darkness can never conquer it. This is a story of God and faith and people. It is the story of a man and a woman in a garden, and a serpent, and the loss of innocence, and a curse, and hidden in that curse, a promise that says that the seed of the woman shall grow, and he shall crush the serpent's head with his heel. And that promise has been carried on from generation to generation, that legacy from family to family, to Noah, to Abraham, to David, who wrote so eloquently of his descendant, the Messiah. People wanted a king, so God gave him a king. He gave him Saul, head and shoulders taller than all others, Saul. And you would think that Saul's son, the crown prince Jonathan, would have been the next king. But that was not God's plan. No. Instead of a prince, he chose a poet, a singer of songs, a tender of sheep. He chose the youngest of Jesse's sons. He chose David to be the future anointed king of Israel.
The Lord is my shepherd, no one shall I know. In pastures of green where the gentle winds blow, beside the still waters wherever I go. The Lord is my shepherd, no one shall I know.
And so God spoke to Samuel, his prophet. He said, Samuel, go to Bethlehem to the house of Jesse. Jesse is a man with many sons. And from amongst his sons, I will choose a king, and I will designate the one to you that I will choose. So Samuel obeyed God and went to Bethlehem and carried with him a horn full of holy oil. And Jesse brought forth his sons, and Samuel looked at them. And God spoke to him and said, Samuel, don't look for the tallest or the most handsome. Man judges from outward appearance, but I judge a man's heart. And the last son had been looked at. Samuel said, are these all of your sons? And Jesse said, well, there is one younger boy who's out tending sheep. Samuel said, send for him. We will not sit down until he comes. And God said, anoint him. This is he. And Samuel anointed David in the midst of his brothers. The Spirit of God descended on David from that day forward. And the boy David grew and became King David. He was the greatest king that the nation was to ever know. His influence spread throughout the known world. There is more written about this man than any other man in the scriptures. And scriptures say he is a man after God's own heart. His first great major accomplishment was to bring the Ark of the Covenant into Jerusalem. The Ark of the Covenant held within it the law that Moses brought down from Sinai, but more importantly, it represented God's presence in the midst of his people. David was a great king, but he was a man. And like all men, he sinned, and his sin was great in the eyes of God. Committed adultery with Bathsheba, and then had her husband Uriah the Hittite murdered to hide his sin. And God sent the prophet Nathan to convict David of his sin with this story.
There were two men in one city, the one rich, the other poor. The rich man had many herds. The poor man had nothing except one little ewe lamb, which he bought and nourished. And it grew up together with him and his children. Now a traveler came to the rich man, and he was unwilling to take one from his own flock to prepare a meal for the stranger. But he took the poor man's lamb, killed it, and served it to the man.
Nathan, as sure as God lives, the man who has done this deed deserves to die.
David, you are the man.
And David's heart was broken, and he laid aside his golden crown and his royal robes. And the great King David returned to the hills of Judea, where he had wandered and tended sheep as a lad. And there in those hills, he knelt down before his Creator and prayed, "Have mercy upon me, O God. Wash me clean of all sin. Create in me a clean heart, O God, and renew a right spirit within me." And God was faithful and just to hear the prayers of David. And in time he blessed him. And David and Bathsheba had a son. And his name was Solomon. And Solomon had a son, and from generation to generation, for 14 generations. And then there came time for the birth of the King of Kings. Mary and Joseph found themselves in those same Judean hills, not because they wanted to be. No, they were forced to be there because the Romans had insisted upon having a census. Yes, they wanted to count the number of people. I suspect to see that their tax registers were in order so they could get more money, and the Jewish people hated this. Well, my dear friend Luke wrote about this experience beautifully when he said, "And it came to pass in those days that there went out a decree from Caesar Augustus that all the world should be taxed. And this taxing was first made when Cyrenius was governor of Syria, and so everyone went to his own town to be taxed. And Joseph also went up out of Nazareth into Judea, into Bethlehem, which is of the city of David, because he was of the house and lineage of David, to be taxed with Mary, his espoused wife, being great with child. And so it was accomplished that while they were there, that she should be delivered. And she brought forth her firstborn son, wrapped him in soft, swaddling clothes, kissed him, and laid him in a manger, because there was no room in the inn. And they were in the same country, shepherds keeping watch over their flock by night. These shepherds, mind you, tended the flocks around Bethlehem. And from this herd, the priests in Jerusalem would come and choose the sacrificial lambs. And it was to these shepherds that God sent his message. The angel of the Lord came upon them, and the glory of the Lord shone round about them, and they were sore afraid. But the angel said,
"Do not be afraid, for I bring you good news of a great joy which shall be for all people. Today in the city of David there has been born for you a Savior who is Christ the Lord. And this shall be a sign. You will find the baby wrapped in cloth and lying in a manger."
Suddenly, there was with the angel a multitude of the heavenly host, praising God and saying, "Glory to God in the highest, and on earth, peace, peace, goodwill toward men." What was it about that countryside, about that land, that would make it a holy land? God chose from the people from that country a boy to be a king. And he chose from an insignificant little village a young woman to be the mother of his son. A young virgin conceived. Her name was Mary. And she was to have the Messiah would be bone of her bone, flesh of her flesh, Spirit of Yahweh. And when the angels had told the shepherds this good news, they said one to another, "Let us go now into Bethlehem and see this thing which the Lord hath made known to us." And so they went with haste, and there they found Mary and Joseph, and just as the angel had foretold, the baby wrapped in swaddling clothes, lying in a manger.
The night is here, my little lamb. Try not to cry. Soon the sun will shine again and light the sky. And though the night seems dark, my child, the morning will come again. And though the night seems dark, my child, the morning will come again. So close your eyes and sleep for a while. Don't be afraid. Morning will come. So sleep.
The angels were the first to know, and they told the shepherds. The shepherds told the people in the village. And then the wise men came. To be perfectly honest, the wise men did something that was not too wise. They told Herod. Yes, King Herod. Herod of the black heart and disposition and vile spirit. And he was vexed. And he was determined that no one or no thing would come in the way of his reign and his power and his influence, even if it meant killing children 2 years of age and under. And the rage of Herod knew no bounds.
I, Herod, as procurator of the District of Palestine, and under the orders of the Emperor Caesar Augustus of Rome, do hereby declare and command that every male child in the district of Bethlehem, Caesarea, shall be put to death in order to preserve the peace and prosperity of the Roman rule and the control of the zealots and the terrorists who would seek to destroy our society. So let this order be carried out immediately.
And his plan would have worked, except Joseph was warned in a dream. And he took Mary and the baby, and they fled to Egypt, where they remained until it was safe to return. Those were strange times. The political climate was in turmoil. The Roman legions terrorized the citizens. And then there were the zealots. Oh, the zealots who were so fanatical in their faith that they would kill anyone who sinned, Jew or Gentile. Then there were the Pharisees and the Sadducees. They controlled the temple. And they hated the Romans as much as the zealots. And in that climate, the boy Jesus was growing up. But he was protected in a quiet little town in the carpenter's shop. I can imagine him one day going out into the yard and taking a ladder that his dad had just built, and leaning it up against a wall and climbing to the top with all sorts of curiosity and looking over, seeing what waited for him out there in the world. And then as a lad, I can imagine him in the temple, learning the law with the other boys. Oh, how he must have read and understood.
The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He leadeth me to green pastures, and maketh me to lie by quiet waters. My great-great-great-great-great-great-grandfather wrote that.
And he grew in wisdom and stature and favor with God and man. And in time, it was time for his ministry to begin. And I, John, was with him at that beginning. I'd been listening to John the Baptist in his preaching, and then I met Jesus. And I followed him from that day forward. I was with him in Cana when he performed his first miracle. Yes, I was there, and so was his mother, Mary.
My son Jesus and his followers had been invited too. But right in the middle of the feast, the unthinkable happened. The wine ran out. So I said to Jesus, "There's no more wine." And he said to me, "What can I do? My time has not yet come." But I knew he understood the situation and that he would do something about it. So I told the servants, anything he tells you to do, do it. So Jesus told the servants to fill the ceremonial water pots, and they did as they were told. And then my son said to the servants, "Pour some out for the guests and serve it to them." And again, they did as they were told. But instead of water, wine came out of the pots. And his disciples began to really believe in him. And I already believed in him. In my heart were signs which I had pondered for many years. Yes, I knew that he was the King.
After the wedding feast, Jesus returned to Nazareth. And it was the Sabbath, and as was his custom, he went to the synagogue to worship. And after the services had started and they had chanted the 18 benedictions, and the rabbi had read from the law, it was time for someone from the congregation to read from the prophets. And before anyone could get up, Jesus stood, and he took the scroll, and he read these words from the prophet Isaiah. The Spirit of the Lord is upon me, because he has anointed me to bring good news to the poor. He has sent me to set the prisoner free, to give sight to the blind, to free those who have been broken by life, to announce that the year when the favor of God will be shown has come. And then Jesus said, today, this prophecy has come true within your listening. And they said, how can this be? Why, this can only be fulfilled by the coming of the Messiah, when God's kingdom comes. And Jesus said, behold, I tell you, suddenly the kingdom of heaven is here. Repent and believe the good news.
I, Nicodemus, a Pharisee and a leader of the Sanhedrin, came to this man Jesus at night and asked, Rabbi, we believe that you're a man sent from God. However, I need to know more about this kingdom of which you speak. Please help me. And he said, truly, For a man to enter the kingdom of God, he must be born again. Born again, I said. How can a man enter his mother's womb a second time when he is old? And he said, I do not speak of a physical birth, but of a spiritual birth. For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whosoever believeth in him should not perish, but have everlasting life. God sent not his Son into the world to condemn the world, but that the world through him might be saved. To imagine the kingdom of God in the hearts of men, this I must consider.
And he taught them wherever they gathered, and he said, blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. And he said, I am the vine, and you are the branches. And he said, you are the light of the world. It was the time of the year for the Passover, the most important festival that we celebrated. And so, every Jewish male who lived within 15 miles of Jerusalem came to the city to celebrate, and Jesus came with his disciples to celebrate a feast that had its origins many miles away, many years ago in Egypt, when Pharaoh was forced to set the Hebrew slaves free because of a series of plagues God had sent on Egypt. God had said the last great plague would be the most awful, that he would take the life of the firstborn of every family in the whole country. But he warned the Jewish people. He said, kill a lamb. Take the branch of hyssop and dip in the lamb's blood and smear it on the doorposts. And at night, when the death angel passes through the land, the death angel will see the blood and will pass over that house, hence the name Passover. The feast has several elements. There are songs, scripture, a retelling of the Hebrew history, and they eat crusts of bread to remind them of the slavery and poverty they lived in. And then they take bitter herbs and put it between two pieces of bread and eat that to remind them of the bitterness of slavery. And at 4 intervals they have wine. And then they have the main ingredient of the feast, the lamb. The lamb that reminds them that it gave its life that they might have freedom. And it was this feast that Jesus and the disciples were celebrating in the upper room. And he took elements from this feast and changed them forever. When he took the bread and said, this bread is my body, broken for you. In the past, it has symbolized the passage from slavery to freedom. Now it symbolizes the passage from death to life. Take, eat this bread in remembrance of me. Then he took the cup and said, as oft as you drink this, drink it in remembrance of me. This is a story, you see, a story of God and faith and a new Adam, Jesus. And he went to a garden, not the Garden of Eden, no, the Garden of Gethsemane. And there was a serpent, and his name was Judas Iscariot. This same Judas had walked beside me, and he had heard the Master teach. He had seen the miracles, and yet he went to the Sanhedrin, and he offered up Jesus for 30 pieces of silver, the price of a slave. And he went to the garden, betrayed the Master with a kiss, and then the soldiers arrested him and took him before the Sanhedrin, where they brought charges of blasphemy against him.
Rabbi, we have brought you here so that you could speak for yourself. Now, there have been charges of blasphemy. What is this strange doctrine that you and your disciples have been spreading around here in Judea?
And Jesus said, I have no secrets from you. I have spoken openly, and there are witnesses. If you have charges against me, bring them now. And Caiaphas said with great solemnity,
Rabbi, in the name of the living God, I adjure you to tell us if you are the Messiah, the Son of God.
I am.
Keep going. What more do you need? He has condemned himself for the crime of blasphemy. There can be but one penalty, death. Guards, take him to Pilate.
The priests of the temple accuse you of leading the people astray, of telling them not to pay tribute to the emperor, of claiming to be the king of the Jews. Are you the king of the Jews?
Yes.
It is Passover, a time of clemency. According to tradition, I should release one of your prisoners. Do you want me to release the king of the Jews? But if I release Barabbas, what shall I do with this man you call your king? Away with him. Take him away.
And Pilate, in order not to incite a riot, released Barabbas. And he had his soldiers take Jesus and beat him with a leaded whip. And then they took him to the praetorium in front of the palace there, and they did jaunt and jeer and mock at him.
I saw him enter Jerusalem as a king, and then look at him now!
Wait. If he is a king, he should have a crown. He doesn't look like any king I've ever seen. And no wonder, he needs a scepter and a throne and a robe. Hail, Majesty. Where is your throne?
Oh, high and mighty Majesty, where is your kingdom?
Hail, Sovereign! Tiberius should be getting worried. There it is. A crown for our king here. I crown you. Hey,
And they put the cross upon his shoulders, and he did walk the very streets where days before they had shouted, "Hosanna to the Son of David!" And now they shouted, "Cursed be the one who hangs on the tree!" And they led him to a place called Golgotha, the place of the skull. And they put a sign over the cross, and it said, "King of the Jews." And they crucified him. This is so precious because it is so costly. And if you are weeping, my friend, let it be for joy, because I have some good news for you. 3 days after they buried him, some women went to the tomb to anoint the body, and when they got there, the stone, that huge stone, was rolled away, and the tomb was empty. And the women rushed to tell us what they had found, and we rushed to find out what they had seen. And I, John, a disciple of the Lord, do hereby bear witness that the tomb was empty. I have spoken to the resurrected Jesus. I had breakfast with him beside a lake, and as an old man, he appeared to me, and he put his right hand on my shoulder, and he said, "Do not be afraid. I am the first and the last. I am the living one. I who was dead am alive now forevermore, and I hold in my hands the keys to death and to life." Yes, dear ones, he is King of kings and Lord of lords, Yeshua, Messiah.
When you're out shopping for the best this busy holiday season, don't forget about McDonald's Chicken McNuggets.